We are grateful to our sponsors, Kelly Stafford with Stafford Tree Service, and also Black Kow Cow Manure. If you need your trees trimmed locally, remember Stafford Tree Service at staffordtreesvc.com. And please visit Black Kow Cow Manure, that's K-O-W. Remember, both of the contact details are in the description below.
David the Good, it is good to have you with me. And you, of course, might tell folks a little bit about how you got into the business and your mission.
Yeah, so I started gardening when I was about 6. I was planting beans in cups, and it was a thing that we did in kindergarten. I planted the bean in a little Dixie cup with little potting soil in it, and when it sprouted, I thought it was the most amazing thing in the world. And I went right to Mom's pantry and got through all the dry beans and just started filling pots with sand in our Fort Lauderdale backyard and just jamming beans in them and any other seed that I could find. Within a year or so, I told my dad I needed a garden. I had to have a garden. And meanwhile, I got, they were going to make me repeat kindergarten because they said I was not suited to first grade yet. But I was actually bored to death. So my mom took me out and homeschooled me, and Dad cut a little 8-foot by 8-foot patch in the backyard and put railroad ties around it. And now my dad was not a gardener. He had the lawn and he had some ornamentals out front, and he kept it really nice and neat. But the growing food had just never really entered into his mind. So when I wanted to grow a vegetable garden, he's like, well, we'll buy some dirt. And I took some of my allowance and bought some seeds and proceeded to kill plants for years. But when I turned 8, I wish I had a copy of it here in my office. I'm at the seed and feed store right now. When I was 8, I got a copy of your book, Florida Gardening, and my parents gave it to me on my 8th birthday. And it says, to our little gardener, our green thumb, to our green thumb. Well, I got the book by Mr. Greenthumb, and I read that book. I was a reader. My mom didn't really let me watch much television, so I read that book over and over and over again. Some of it, applying this to get rid of nematodes and things, it was over my head.
Right.
But the parts on vegetable growing, I read them again and again and again and again, and it really applied to our Fort Lauderdale gardening. My great-grandfather in upstate New York, I saw his garden when I was around that same age, and it was this dark, loamy, probably glacial soil, and just rows of potatoes and raspberries, and he had sunflowers around his yard, and it was just this big, beautiful, about a quarter-acre garden.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me what to do. He said, you take some of these beet seeds, you take a little bag of this lime, you go home and you put those beet seeds in the ground and you sprinkle some lime on your garden, it'll grow. Well, I didn't really have any luck. I didn't know what time of year to grow in. I didn't know what lime was. But when I read your book, I got going on it. So I've always given credit, and I've showed that book a lot of times. I said, look at this book. It's from my parents, when I was 8 years old. And if you don't have a Florida gardening book, write this one. So, many years later, I wrote the book Totally Crazy Easy Florida Gardening, which took off and did well on Amazon. But in it, I'm pretty sure I mentioned your book. I know I've mentioned it in a lot of videos otherwise because, there are really no original ideas. We're all standing on the shoulders of other people. And it doesn't make any sense to pretend that I invented Florida gardening or that you invented Florida gardening or, it's just, we make our observations, we test in the backyard, we write a book, and we learn everything we can from everybody in this short period of time God gives us to live here, and then, pass it on. But you were a big part of it. So I'm really happy to actually be able to talk to you in person, after years.
I don't know if I got to meet your parents or not, but I know that I've had a number of parents over the time that would come to see me at a home show or one of the shows like we're going to have. And they would often ask me to write it to their son, or they would say, I'm going to give this to my child.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I got to meet your parents or not, but I have met many parents that bought a book for their child, and I always thought it was great. It made me feel good that we're having a whole new generation, and now you tell me about your children. And I was going to put my book up just for a second. We have a picture of James, and I don't know if it'll show it in there.
Gonna unblur. Come on, unblur.
And let's see here. There he is.
There we go.
There he is. And he was helping me with Brussels sprouts. And you got to meet him as he helped hook up our meeting today. He's now a young man, kind of like your age. And of course, I'm proud of James. I said I would have had 3 or 4 of James's if I knew they were going to be as good as he is. I was truly blessed by God to have such a good son. And I'm sure you feel the same way about your children too.
Oh yeah, I mean, we gardeners, we have to propagate. It's kind of just one of those things. So I have 11 of my own, and after the first one turned out okay, I was like, you know what? Well, the second one turned out okay. Oh, this is good. I mean, it was just kind of, I don't know where they come from, but
now you have enough for a baseball team.
Yeah.
You have enough for a baseball team now. All in the family.
That's right.
Well, do most of your children now enjoy gardening?
Some of them really do. Some of them don't that much. They have their own interests. One of my sons is into blacksmithing, and so he has made gardening tools, and I've been able to sell some of his gardening tools by linking them in my gardening videos. Another one of my sons, he knows how to help in the garden. He can put a garden bed together and everything. He's my oldest, but he's not that interested in it. Instead, if I need a graphic done or if I need a video idea or something like that, he's extremely good on Photoshop and video editing and all that kind of stuff. So, and I can just call him anytime I just am short on hands. I can be like, hey, Perry, I need to do such and such. You'd be like, you want me to drive the trailer and pick up those plants for you? I'm like, yeah, go get them. But personally, he doesn't really care. He wouldn't plant a garden.
Well, I think it's funny how kids kind of grow into it, because James helped me when he was younger, and then for a long time he didn't seem to care. And then when he got his own little place and he had his own little townhouse in Clearwater, he called me and started asking me questions. And then I said, the worm has turned. All of a sudden it's yours and you do care. And
Yeah.
now, of course, he's coming into my business more. He's helping me with the consulting business, and we do a lot of court case work, and we do a lot of tree injections. We try to save trees.
Yeah.
And we have found that by injecting trees, we use different systems. We were using the Mager for a long time, looked like little Popeyes pipes. Now we're using a computerized system where it pulls it out almost like you're in the hospital and puts it into the tree.
No way.
We can put it down to the millimeter. We can put fungicide, nutrients, and often, problems from like with trees, they have a whole bunch of problems with beetles or borers.
Yes.
And I always like to say these are beetles, they're not Joe and Paul Ringo and the boys without Epi, we can't do rock and roll like we used to. Not those beetles. There's beetles that get into your tree and they'll kill your tree. Now, I think in God's great plan, it's ashes to ashes and dust to dust. And that's good. But if it's the trees hanging over your house, maybe you don't want that tree coming down yet.
No, you don't want a British invasion next year. Yeah.
Exactly, without John Paul Ringo and the boys. So one of the things we try to do is to save trees. Now, I know we're going to talk about, we're having Scrubfest 4 too. I want to get that in while we're
Yes.
talking. And I know that's kind of your baby, and I'm coming up to it. Why don't you tell people a little bit about where that's going to be happening, and then maybe tell folks about where you're at as well for your new business that you're in.
Oh, you got it. So Scrubfest 4 is basically Florida gardening and food forest event. The nursery that it's at is called Scrubland Farms, and it's run by Sam and his wife Shannon, and they have the coolest collection of edible perennial vegetables and medicinals. And I think he's got something like 16 varieties of persimmons, like 10 varieties of mulberries, Mexican tree spinach, and stuff you have never heard of that is suited to the North Central Florida climate. Pretty much anything from about zone 11 to zone 7, he's got something for it because he's right there at the border of 8 and 9. He's got some stuff that he protects. He's got jabuticaba trees, in big pots and the kind of stuff you just don't normally see. So he has this beautiful nursery and he stocks it like crazy with all of these food forest plants for this event. And then we have food vendors and we have a lot of speakers. And I try to get speakers that are experts on gardening in Florida because it's just a weird climate. And a lot of the information you get on YouTube, it's coming from California or New Jersey or someplace. It's not Florida.
Right.
And, you know, when you get 105 degrees in Ocala during the summer and it gets down to 15 degrees, you know, every 10 years or so, that is just a bizarre climate. And so to have local experts who are living and producing food in Florida, we try to get people like Seed the Stars. Seed the Stars, they have an heirloom seed company that's right there in Florida. They got all the cool old heirloom varieties. They always have a big booth there. We've got Shannon Alverson. Shannon Alverson was a CrossFit champion who has been studying how you can replace pharmaceuticals with food, with proper diet and everything. And she's a amazing woman. She's there. We often have somebody from the extension. Mark Bailey is a genius on fruit trees and citrus and beeting, greening, and varieties of sweet potatoes. He's growing tropical passion fruit, and they're experimenting with growing tropical passion fruit in North Florida and having it die back, but they protect the trunks and it grows back again. And they're actually getting commercial yields of passion fruit outside of the tropics. So he is always there. And you're going to be here this year, so which I'm really excited about. And then Tim Armstrong from Eat Your Yard Jacksonville. He's got an edible plant nursery. They do educational. They do a lot of community work. And they have a wide collection of he can talk about all these bizarre plants. I mean, one time he gave me this mint and he said, "Here, try this. This mint tastes like fish." It's the most bizarre mint. It's like, this is fish mint. I'm like, what would I even do with this? Oh, you use it in cooking. Okay, if I ever want mint fish. But he's got just the coolest collection of stuff. So we stock it like crazy with all the plants and the seeds and all the fall abundance. And there's always like sugar cane and yams and all kinds of stuff. And then we try to get 4 or 5 or 6 speakers. So it's a destination, and it's $50 a ticket for an adult, but kids get in for free. So just the $50 to get in is worth it just because of how many rare plants are there and how much money you really save with the education, because it'll take years off of your gardening journey. It'll save you tons of time just to meet and talk with these people. We've had multiple authors and come over the years. It's been really good. We launched it 4 years ago. This will be the 4th year, and it's fun. It's a really good event, and I really enjoy doing it. I always get into the nursery early and go. He's got all of these plants placed underneath live oaks in these little walks, so you can go. The nursery is half in the shade of these giant towering live oaks, so it's like you're going on these little garden paths and coming into, oh, here's a block of this, and here's a block of all kinds of different gingers, and here's some timber bamboo, and here's a Buddha's belly bamboo, and it's just like you're going through these little. It's awesome. So I try to get in there first and get stuff, because by the end of the show, that place is picked out.
That sounds great. I mean,
it's great. It's fun.
I see there's a ton of vendors, and it kind of has that, feel that people of all different backgrounds will be there. So you're going to have people who, are going to be not talking politics, but talking about how great plants are and how it's great for people and families, and maybe great to cut back on your food bill a bit if you can grow some of the food in your own backyard, which is what you've been doing, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if you look at it, a fruit tree or a berry bush is that investment will often beat the stock market, and it's not taxable. So, you pay, let's say you pay $40 for a persimmon tree, or $45 for a persimmon tree. You put it in the ground. 3 years later, you get, maybe 20 persimmons, those big Fuyu persimmons. If you were to buy organic Fuyu persimmons, you'd probably be paying $2 a piece for them or so. So you pay for the tree in 3 or 4 years. And then after that, when you're getting a couple of 5-gallon buckets of fruit that would sell for $2 a piece organically, and where it's coming from too. It's like you can't, you're the only person that's ever handled it. You know exactly what's been sprayed or fed to it and everything. And it's just year after year after year. It's basically, once you get a tree like that established, it's no work. I remember trying to grow different berries. I tried strawberries and some of the thornless blackberries. I planted blueberries, and they were all slow. The strawberries were way too much work, and always had problems with them getting chewed up by stuff, or not producing well, or getting burned by the heat. And somebody said, you should try growing a mulberry. So I planted an Illinois ever-bearing mulberry. It was a little stick, maybe 2 or 3 feet tall. And I stuck it by, in the backyard, kind of at the edge of my garden, past the vegetables. And within 2 years, that tree was 8 to 10 foot, 12 foot tall. And I got 6 gallons of berries off of a tree that I think I paid $20 for it. It's like a bare root stick, At 6 gallons of organic berries. I said, if I was to go buy organic berries from Whole Foods or something, they'd probably be starting to mold already. But, you would be spending something like $250 if you were to look at them in those little clamshells that they share. I said, this is the best investment in the world. You get a tree that likes the climate, that's easy care. Don't, if you're going to be a real, you want to be a nerd about it and be a gardener and try to collect Southern apple varieties or something. I do that, but I don't recommend them. Or coffee. I like to grow coffee in pots. It's a nice house plant. But if somebody plants a loquat tree or a mulberry tree or a persimmon tree or a sand pear tree or a fig tree, those 5 right there, it's just years and years of productivity, almost no work. So long as you keep it watered the first year and you mulch it, those trees will just simply grow and produce and make you food year after year after year after year. So I try to steer people away from the stuff that's a pain in the neck. Say, okay, if you spend $40 right now, this tree is going to produce for the next 50, 100 years. It's a no-brainer,
I agree. Well, I'm growing carambolas and I have bananas, and
I'm just out of carambola range.
I give my neighbors carambolas. I take them to the bank. I take them everywhere, just about to folks. If I have some, I'll bring them the day of the show. So I enjoy that. And they're great, star fruit. But I also grow the sweetest banana in the world, the Rajapur. And
the Rajapur. Yeah, I've seen that one. I've never tried it.
I don't know if mine are just blooming again right now, but I love it. A lot of people don't know that you can actually eat the male part of the bloom too. I had one of my friends years ago, his wife was from Thailand, and I was saying, I cut off the male part and puts more energy into the female part. And she was telling me about how they use that, and they sometimes cook it or they can make it into a candy. And I just thought often, you'll learn from other people about what they do all around the world. And much of the time you go, wow, this is fantastic. They're showing us new things that they've been doing forever that we could maybe incorporate into our garden and our gardening practice.
Yeah, that's I enjoy talking with other gardeners. I found when we lived in the Caribbean, we were down there for 4 years. One of the topics of conversation that we could always talk about is, what do you grow? How do you grow it? What do you like to grow? How do you plant it? And those guys, you'd get a guy he would have a machete and a grub hoe and a sack of yams, and he would go up the side of a hill, clear the brush down the side of the hill, throw all the stuff down on the ground to rot down. And he would knock holes in the ground, and he would start putting sticks in the ground, and they would plant those yams. They're the true Dioscorea species, the relatives of the dreaded air potato, not relatives of sweet potato. But he would go and he would plant those yams, and they would have a hillside done, in one day, and they would bring to market 1,000 pounds or so. They would carry them down. They'd have the wife and the kids. They would all carry them down on their heads down to the market, add load after load after load, or they'd get a friend that owned a truck. A lot of those guys didn't drive. They would just have one friend that had a truck that would drive the truck up, and they'd load all their yams, take them down to market, and sell them. And they outproduced, there was an American mission down there that was trying to put in aquaponics systems, this futuristic gardening with all the pipes and everything. And they were trying to convince the schools, you need this aquaponic gardening. But literally, the illiterate Rastafarian who gets up in the morning and he smokes a little of the local stuff, has a shot of rum, and he goes up the hill. He was planting tens of thousands worth of calories, tens of thousands of calories in an afternoon. And meanwhile, they had these little beds of gravel and a pump and all this imported PVC, and they were talking about how it's like, look at, we're going to fight food security. I mean, down there in the tropics, they could have just learned from the locals and said, you know what, if we spent $1,000 on breadfruit trees, we could produce 100 times what one of these aquaponic systems could produce. You know,
So sometimes simplest is best.
simplest is best. Yeah, keep it simple.
I know I'm growing some sweet potatoes right now, and it's just kind of running over part of my backyard. But I've learned that you can take the sweet potato leaves and use it as a green, which a lot of people don't do. But those young leaves could be
Yeah,
cooked and they can be eaten fresh. And we're only eating one part of it when we think about eating the actual sweet potato itself.
right. You're actually getting two vegetables out of it. They're
Sure.
really good if you just cut them. You cut them and saute them, and then make scrambled eggs for breakfast with the sauteed sweet potato leaves in it. They got a nice hearty flavor, and I
Hmm.
think they have lower oxalate content than spinach. So if you like spinach, but you've had kidney stone issues or something like that, the sweet potato leaves should be a good substitute for you.
I agree 100%. I know the other things that I've, got into in the last couple of years, besides some of the fruit trees, and I would say you're right about fruit trees. With vegetables, there's always a season, it seems. But if
Right?
you have fruit trees, you can have so much more in that space, and
Yeah.
that's important. But I've also been doing some stuff with the moringa, which is another one that they
A
grow in
really good
gardens.
one.
And
Yeah.
you can use almost every part of it. Sometimes they call it I think what is it? The drumstick is one of the names for it.
Drumstick tree. Yeah.
And I've been eating some of that foliage on occasion, and it's got all the complete nutrients and not only vitamin C, it's got more vitamin C than orange juice and more calcium than milk, and yet it's not a big thing that's grown by a lot of folks in the States, but it should be.
It should be. We grew that. We've grown that for years. I've got some in my greenhouse right now. We would dry the leaves at the end of the year before we would get a freeze when we lived in Ocala, and we would crumble the leaves up and just add them to everything because you could just throw a few. You throw it in a soup or whatever, and it's a multivitamin. They were
Sure.
using that in Africa for nursing mothers that were malnourished. If they had just a little bit of a moringa supplement, that their milk supply would come back, the baby would start to get healthy. Kids that would come in that were malnourished from just eating basically nothing but cassava and
Mhm.
half starving on basically pure carbs. They give them a little bit of moringa, and all of the diseases, the scurvy and the pellagra and all those other things, they go away.
Yeah.
Like within a couple of days, these kids are like up and they're chipper again, and it's just a easy to grow tree. It's nothing big.
I know it's true. I know we did recently, we're doing some consulting work for a lady who grows neem trees over in Brandon.
Oh yeah.
And I was looking at some of the different benefits for neem for so many diseases. I know you're going to have, I think, an expert there also that's going to talk about different diseases that might be controlled by different different plants.
Yes. And I mean the neem tree. I remember you can chew it and make a toothbrush out of it. They
Yeah.
chew the stick and work it through your teeth, and it's got antibacterial, antifungal. It's supposed to be very good for your. You hear about those. In Africa, where they would chew the sticks. The neem tree. I used to have one in Ocala, but it froze to the ground on me. But I have another friend down there named Mart who has kept it alive for years. So just marginal, I guess, in Zone 8B.
Yeah, you're a little bit colder now. What made you decide to go to Alabama from Florida?
Florida got so expensive, I couldn't afford it anymore. I couldn't find a place to stay, and a piece of property came available up here for a good rental price when we moved back from overseas. And so we rented it. And we were like, you know what? I like it here. And
Hmm.
then we moved to the Atmore area and kept going to this farm and garden store that's in town here, which is the one that I'm sitting in right now because we bought it 2 weeks ago. Um,
Congratulations.
it was a big jump, but it's fun. I was already shocked. Like I already had a problem with with seed hoarding. You know, I bought a second fridge for the house, and my wife, I was like, wife, you know, sweetheart, I bought another fridge, but I filled it almost all the way full of jars of seeds. So it's not actually particularly useful to her. Uh, so I'm kind of a seed hoarder. And so, you know, they have all the bulk seed bins and everything here. And I've got tons. There's a warehouse back here that's got tons, literal tons of, you know, rye and clover and Austrian peas and cover crop mixes and all that kind of stuff for gardeners and for deer plot. Deer plots are a big thing right here. The opportunity came up, and I said, man, I could run my nursery out of there, and I could get so many more seeds. So we had been praying for something that would be more stable. You probably know, you know, being an author, people are not reading like they used to. And 10 years ago, my book sales were good. And then they were pretty good through the pandemic. But since then, the sales have continued to go down. And I think it's because everybody's doing this, and they're on social media, and people are just not reading.
Sure.
You know, even people that used to read 2 years ago, they now go to bed like this at night, just doom scrolling through, you know, short pieces of information instead of sitting and reading a book. So my book sales going down. I said, you know, I should really, and AI too, you know, you can't hardly trust anything on YouTube. You know, like it's getting weirder and weirder, and they can take your face and take your voice, and, you know, they could write books that don't even exist and publish them on Amazon by authors that do not exist. And I said, you know what? I need a real store where I can talk to real people, and I can leave my phone off and just go out there and tell people how to grow fruit trees and sell seeds. And so the opportunity presented itself, and we took it. So yeah, it's Atmore Farm and Garden. And
now, you're selling seeds, and are you selling other plants and vegetables and things of that nature?
Yes, we're expanding into the food forest plants right now. I've got some mulberries and persimmons and pears and satsumas, because we're right on the edge for growing satsumas. If you protect them, you can grow them here. But the store already had feed and seed, so it's got chicken, you know, and all stock feed, and tons of, you know, like triple 13 and millet and oats and all the stuff people plant for deer food plots.
Right.
And to cover crop their pastures, to feed their cows. There's just tons and tons of bags of seed and feed in the back. So it's already a place where people were coming to feed their chickens. And then they have all those decorative plants like mums and crotons and bougainvilleas and things like that, and the pretty ferns and the hanging baskets. It's very like garden boutique with all this garden decor and everything. The fellow that owned it before me did a beautiful job making it look gorgeous and pretty, but also keeping a functional feed and seed with all the bulk bins. Like you can buy an ounce of turnip seeds, you know, for 50 cents.
Wow.
So it's like 40 packets. You know, what you would pay probably $80 for if you bought individual seed packets, you could pay 50 cents for it. And we basically have a little medicine jar in there, and you just dump a bag full of turnip seed, you know. So it was already all working. So on top of that, I'm adding my own. I added a wall of machetes because I like good machetes. So I got Tramontina machetes from Brazil and put up a wall of 10 types of machete. And then started adding in the fruit trees. I added things like vetiver grass and citronella grass and mushroom herb and some figs and stuff like that. I have a weird collection of interesting medicinal and edible plants. So I'm adding those. And like right now, we just had these are these.
Yeah, the ginger, the pine cone.
Pine cone ginger. They also call it shampoo ginger. So I got this pretty antique vase.
It's pretty.
Put a couple of these on our counter, and I let all the ladies
make soap out of it.
Yeah, you can just squeeze it, and it's not sticky, and it smells like ginger. It's really nice on your hair and your skin. And I had some of these plants in my nursery, and you know, that's an old-fashioned garden plant. You used to see it more. You don't see it very often anymore. And I had, I think, 12 or 14 of them. And when the ladies saw it on Facebook and people got to come in and feel it and and look at, they're like, oh, I want one of those. And so we sold, I think, 14, all 14 I had in my nursery in one day, gone,
Wow.
But sometimes people just got to feel it. They got to look at it. You see all these things online that you're not interacting with. But I mean, I'll tell you, if somebody tastes a mulberry right off the tree, they're like, how much is that tree?
Yeah.
Well, that little tree right there, that's 22. That big tree is 35. They'll be like, I want that one. I want that one. I want that one, because it's one thing to see it, but you experience it. You see you just want it,
Now, will you have some of those with you when you come to the Scrub Fest?
Oh yeah, I'm going to bring a lot of plants with me. I'll have a bunch of plants with me, and I'll bring some of the rare stuff. I'm also going to bring some of those Tramontina machetes, because I got distribution from Brazil for them, and they have that 1075 steel. We used to use them down in the Caribbean. We cut sugarcane, and we cut a lot of the bananas and plantains and everything with them. It's all the hardware machetes. The hardware store machetes are made in China now, and they're just junky. And some of the American-made machetes are extremely expensive. And these are machetes from a place where they literally use them to cut through the Amazon rainforest and blaze trails. So I bring all kinds of stuff, and I bring my books and bring some T-shirts, and we basically just stuff a trailer and a van and just line up every cool plant that we can find in the nursery. And it's pretty much our big end of the year blowout. And I always have a few weird things. Like, I think last year I sold a big coffee plant that was right on the edge of blooming, that I had grown up for 3 years. That kind of thing, where there's going to be some collector that goes, I want that,
Sure.
So,
And they will. Well, that's going to be cool. So we're going to have it. The Scrub Fest is coming up October the 11th. And
October the 11th. And I'll give you the link. You can drop it below this video to get tickets.
Okay. And how do people, you might tell people where it is. I think you said that if you put the address in, you need to just put in the Scrub Fest Farms, and it'll get you there better.
Yeah, the Scrubland Farms address will get you there. It is in Fort McCoy, Florida, but it's technically it's a Fort McCoy address, but it's north of Fort McCoy. So it's about 25 minutes, 30 minutes out of Silver Springs. I usually stay in Silver Springs and drive up to it to do the event. We'll just stay at the hotel down there and drive up, because that's the closest. It is out there in the sticks.
Okay.
But it's a big old field, and there's a lot of parking, and then we put a big tent up with a PA, and I'm going to be bringing my guitar this time too. I'm going to subject people to my singing. So if you want to join me for a duet, we could pick a song.
we can dazzle them. There's no doubt about it.
There's no way we would not dazzle them.
We won't, hopefully they won't be running for their cars. But
wait, I need to sell the rest of these plants.
Come by. If you buy more plants, you don't have to hear me sing. I don't know, but
we can threaten them.
that would be good, I'm sure. Well, it sounds like it's going to be a nice atmosphere. I'm looking forward to being there. What time do I need to be there? I think 11:30 or a little before, I guess.
Something like, probably be if you're there at if you're there at 10 or so. I mean, if you're later in the day, I'll just say that you're the headliner. We'll just keep pushing back. Oh, Stan's not here yet, you guys. I'm going to sing another song before Stan gets here.
Well, they might enjoy that. Maybe they'll be saying, hey, don't come so early. But I'm enjoying it. It's going to be a fun time, and I think it's going to be great to see all the other, you look like you've got a full lineup of speakers.
Oh, I'm looking forward to introducing you to everybody, because there are so many nice people. We get a lot of the same people come. New people come every year, but there's a lot of families and kids, lots of kids. And these families would be like, the first year they had 1 kid, the second year they've got 2 kids, the third year they've got 2.5 kids, It's kind of it's been fun to see these families grow, and they're like, we planted that mulberry that we got 2 years ago, and now it's this big, and she ate all of the fruit off the bottom, everything she could reach.
Yeah,
it's fun to kind of see the same people again.
That's going to be wonderful. Well, I think it's going to be the 11th of October, and it's going to be kind of a whole day thing. You're going to start off, I think, with the morning prayer. And,
start off with prayer in the morning. The doors open, we dedicate the day to the Lord, and then we just start doing plants.
It's going to be a fun happening, and hopefully we get people all over. I know I have an audience that's all over the world, so I don't know how many people will show up from that, but I want to thank you for being part of my show, and hopefully maybe I'll be part of yours as well.
Yeah, thank you. I'm glad to be here. You're one of you're my main gardening influence. You're the one that launched me, so I will always appreciate that. Florida gardening.
Okay, I'll bring some books. Maybe I can sign a few.
Yes, please do, because I've got my copy that my parents gave me, and I want you to sign it. So I'll have your signature on it too.
I thank you so much, and it was so great to meet you, David. Say hey to your family, and I look forward to seeing you in person on the 11th.
Thank you. I'll see you there.
Thank you, sir.